Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and I'm standing outside one of our 19 active flips right now. And I want to show you this house and talk to you about how you can flip your first house, how to start. It can be daunting, overwhelming, really just crazy to think of how you can flip a house when you've never done it before. You might not have a ton of money, you don't have any connections. So we're going to go through one strategy on how to do it for the very first time with not a whole lot of money, and without having to have an amazing source of deals, and without having to have amazing contractors. Now, it's great to have all those. We need all of those to do as many flips as we do, but it's really hard to start from 0 to 100. Someone has to start somewhere. So we're gonna show you a strategy on how to actually do that from the very beginning. All right, I am in Greeley, Colorado, and we're real close to the local hospital here. Great area to flip houses. And one reason why I'm showing you this house is because it was not a full gut major rehab. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna flip a house, I've got to tear out the walls, change the floor plan, open up the kitchen, redo everything. And that's really one of the best ways to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing. Even if you don't make as much money, most people are much better off doing a light, easy rehab to start out with than a full-blown major rehab. Even myself, now that we've done something like almost 200 flips, we often make more money on the light, easy rehabs than we do the major gut jobs because so many things come up that are unexpected, they take longer, there's always more problems, and it just doesn't work out well. So this house basically needed paint, flooring, and a bunch of little stuff. I think we spent less than $15,000 on rehab. We bought it for $240,000, selling it for $315,000, and we'll also have $20,000 other costs for financing, selling, and some carrying costs. Now, the strategy I'm going to talk to you about doesn't involve as much as I do, and that is buying the house as an owner-occupant. Doing an owner-occupied flip, which isn't as sexy, as amazing as doing, a full gut job flip. However, it can still be a great way to get in the business, to learn the business, to make money, and get yourself capital to maybe do some full-blown flips. This, we did not have to do hardly anything in here, just touch-ups, paint. We painted the counters, did not change all this. Sometimes less is more, and the house is sold pretty quickly. But with an owner-occupied flip, you're basically buying a house to live in. You have to live there at least 1 year per most loan guidelines in the United States. But the advantage is you don't have to put 20 or 25% down. With a lot of my loans, I'm putting 20% down with the bank, or maybe I'm getting a hard money loan where I'm putting 10% down and financing repairs, but I'm still paying all the carrying costs, insurance, all of that stuff while I own the property. And those costs get very expensive. As I said, add on $27,000 when you sell it. You have costs as well to pay real estate agents. I am an agent, which helps, but for other people, there's a lot more cost than that. Well, if you buy a house to live in, you can slowly fix it up while you're there. You're living there, so you're not paying rent for something else. And you're not in a big rush to do everything. Don't have this burden of days counting down to sell the house and still make money because you have all these costs because you're living there. It's your house. There's not a huge rush. If you don't get it done right away, not a big deal. You're still using it for something. You have that house as your home. Oh, my camera's being weird. But anyway, so instead of putting the 20%, maybe 10% down if you're really lucky, you can put 3.5% down with FHA. You can put 3% down with some conventional loans. You could put 0 down with VA if you qualify. You could put 0 down with some USDA rural development loans. Even with FHA, you might be able to get down payment assistance where the state or local governments will help you pay that 3.5% down payment. It's pretty easy nowadays to get into a house with very, very little money if you live in it. That's the kicker. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer, but you have to live in it for a year. This kitchen We cleaned it up. Same cabinets, same counters. Again, we painted the counters, added new appliances. That was about it. Very simple, easy stuff. So why am I showing you this house that doesn't need much work? Well, obviously it's nice to be able to live in a house that doesn't need much work. But if you're getting one of these loans, USDA, VA, even conventional owner-occupant, FHA, they have certain guidelines for what kind of condition a house has to be in for you to get the loan. So you can't just go buy a house that needs all new, has broken windows, broken holes in the drywall, heat doesn't work, has a bad roof, and just get that owner-occupant loan and move in. Almost all of those loans require you to buy a house that's in livable condition. So the basics are there's no holes in the drywall. The electrical system works. There's no broken windows. The heating system works. The plumbing system works. There's no broken pipes. You can turn the hot water on. The roof is decent. I say decent. It's not to be perfect, but decent. Lots of different little things. But at the same time, the paint, you can't have peeling paint, but you can have old paint, worn paint. You don't even have to have carpet. You can have subfloor, and with most owner-occupant loans, still get the loan. Now, if there's a hole in the subfloor, that's not good, but you don't have to have flooring. That's something a lot of people don't realize. So you can buy a house that needs updates, that needs some work, that's got an old kitchen, that has old bathrooms, it has an older roof, as long as it's in livable condition. And who decides if it's livable or not? Well, that's the appraiser. So you'll have to have an appraisal done on the home. And that appraiser comes out, inspects the home, and looks for any major damage. Now, this isn't the home inspector. A lot of people get an inspection done to see what shape the home's in before they buy it. Oh, missed a light, there we go. But this is different. The inspector is who the buyer hires to check everything out. Make sure the furnace is good. Make sure the water heater isn't 30 years old. Those types of things. The appraiser, on most of these loans, I think USDA actually asks for the inspection too. But the appraiser looks at these things on his own without the inspection. And they're usually not as in-depth of an inspection as what the actual inspector will do. So the appraiser is probably not going to get on the roof. If he sees visible damage, yes, he might call it out. If he sees there's holes in the walls and broken windows, yes, he's probably going to call that out. But if the water works, the heat works, the electrical system seems to be okay, he's probably going to say the house is in livable condition. You can move in as an owner-occupant and then start your repair process. So that's another part of this that can be easier if you're an owner-occupant and not doing this as an investor. Now, in 2006, I flipped a house on my own, did all the work myself. I didn't live in it, bought it as an investment. It was a nightmare. I hated it. I was always there working on the house. It took me forever to finish it. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. Cost me more money than it saved me because I was always working on the house. It took me so long, and I didn't do stuff right. So I usually don't suggest people do the work themselves on their investment properties unless they know what they're doing, they're professional, they don't have a job, they have lots of time. Yeah, that's about it. Those are the two times. However, if you're living in a house, that can kind of be the exception to that rule because you're not having to go somewhere. When you have free time, you can work on things and you're not in this giant rush to get everything done because you're not spending $100 a day on financing, on insurance, on property taxes while you own this vacant house. So if you live in a house as an owner-occupant, I think it's okay to work on it yourself, do the things you know how to do. It can even be more advantageous as far as building permits because a lot of cities won't require building permits or it's much easier to get them if you live in the house while you're doing the work. Does that make sense to me? Not really, because I don't know why living in a house qualifies someone to do construction work, but it does, according to some cities. So you might as well take advantage of it if you can. So what you're doing, you're buying a house, low down payment. So this house I bought for $240. Your down payment could be $10,000 or less, depending on the type of loan you use, instead of spending $20,000, $40,000. You're doing the repairs slowly while you live in it, so you don't need that huge chunk of change to do the repairs, right away. And you're doing some of the work yourself, so you might be saving money. You're also not spending all that money on financing costs, on carrying costs, because you're living here. So if you weren't living in this house, you'd be paying rent or owning another house and still have those expenses. So it's kind of a wash. And finally, if you live in the house 1 year, you satisfy your loan requirements usually. However, if you live in the house for 2 years, the United States tax code states if you live in a house for 2 out of the last 5 years, occupy it as your primary residence, and then sell it, in most cases, you don't pay any income taxes on the profit, up to $250,000 for an individual or $500,000 for a couple. So you could make $50,000 on this house, pure profit. If you live here for 2 years, sell the house, 0 taxes. You don't have to exchange it into another property. You don't have to buy another property. You can take that money and gamble it all on red if you want to. They don't care what you do with it. It's tax-free. One of the huge, biggest advantages of the United States tax code is the owner-occupant tax-free gain rule. So if you want to get into flipping, there's a number of reasons why buying a house as an owner-occupant, living here for 2 years, and selling it is an amazing way to start. Now all of a sudden you've got $50,000 in capital. Now you could go do it again with a low down payment loan and move and buy another house to live in and fix up. And you've got 50 grand to maybe work on another house with hard money, or maybe even a local bank loan, which could be tough to get, but possible. And flip 2 houses at once. Just remember, it's usually a lot more stressful when you're flipping a house you don't live in, because you're on the clock to get everything done quickly. So if you're looking to get started flipping houses, you don't know how to do it, you don't have the money, you don't have the contractors, the connections, you don't have the financing lined up, think about doing it as an owner-occupant. Yes, it takes some sacrifice. You have to live in a house that might not be very nice for a while. It might need some work. You might have to move your family around. However, there might not be any other way to get started, and that might be what you have to do. Now, if you really want to flip houses that are vacant, you're going to need more money. You're going to need to find those hard money lenders, which I do have a list of on my site at investformore.com. You're going to need to find those contractors, which are hard to find as well, but you can do it. And you're going to need to be able to work on the clock, really keep track of stuff. And I still suggest taking on small rehab projects first, because the big ones are what eat people alive and get people into a lot of trouble. All right, so that is all I've got. I almost forgot to mention, I'm a horrible marketer. I just published a new book, 101 House Flipping Tips, my 8th book I've done. That goes through a lot of the stuff we're talking about here. A lot of tips, tricks on working with title companies, contractors, lenders, buying houses, selling houses, all that good stuff. It's available on Amazon, paperback or Kindle. I'll have a link below so you guys can see that. And I also have my other book, Fix and Flip Your Way to Financial Freedom, which is a full, big book packed with tons of information on flipping houses. So, check out investformore.com, pick up a copy of my new book. If you happen to leave a review for it, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That's one of the best ways to help me out is leave reviews on Amazon. And let me know if you do. Send me an email at mark@investformore.com. And we'll have many more videos coming up soon. We'll be showing more videos of our fix and flips, our 20 rental properties, buying another one here in a couple weeks, being an agent, all that good stuff. All right. Appreciate all the comments, the likes, the subscriptions, all that good stuff. We try to respond to everyone. And if you have anything great to say or anything to add, or something I forgot, which happens all the time, let us know below, and then love to hear that information. All right, we'll be back soon with more videos.